Live. This is the CWTAR presentation of The Voice for Real Estate, and The Voice is back with us today.
I am back.
And do you have a note from your teacher, or what? You're just going to show up?
I'm just going to show up. It's kind of interesting.
Good.
The first time I missed, which was 2 weeks ago. That's that year-end financial stuff. It's funny, that stuff has to be done, and somebody has to do it, right?
Yeah, they do.
Yep. So it was just kind of one of those things. I was like, I can't leave. I got to get this done, or my accountant's going to kill me. So
I thought maybe when I retired, I wouldn't have to worry about such things as that.
No.
There's always the personal side.
Always
something to do.
Always something to go along with it. And then, of course, last Monday was Dr. Martin Luther King's holiday, and
right.
We were closed that day. Didn't even think about it till
we
that
weren't.
morning. I know you weren't, but I was at home with 2 children because they were out of school that day.
Yes,
so,
I know that feeling
my
quite
son's
well.
Been here. I don't know if my daughter would have sat very well.
Well, we missed you. We missed you, and we had a text come in just about the time that Eddie hung up the phone. Are you a fisherman?
You know what? I couldn't catch the fish if somebody put it on my. I'm not kidding. I love to go fishing. I don't ever catch anything ever. Like, I'm not kidding about that. I really don't.
You're like me. You can't catch a cold. Right?
I can't. It's horrible. My brother-in-law's a huge fisherman. And he catches everything all the time, but I just go for fun.
We had a text that said, Eddie, how much wind for fishing? So I don't know that answer, and I was hoping maybe you did too. So, but
I could call my brother-in-law and ask him. He could tell me.
Well, I can tell you the wind right now is west at 4 miles per hour, but how that's affecting fishing, I do not know. I'll tell you what we'll do, Texter. I'll mark that, and we'll ask Eddie tomorrow morning how the fishing winds are tomorrow. Hope they didn't spoil your day today. But anyway, this is the Voice for Real Estate, CWTAR, Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors. It took us a while to get to where we could say that in the proper order, but we're pretty good at it now. So.
Yeah, it kind of rattles it right on off.
Yes,
of course, you were only a member there for, I don't know, for a long time.
Yeah, but I didn't have to.
Should have been able to rattle it
I didn't have to say it. I just had to write it on the check.
Gotcha.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't say that part.
Brent Ward, of course, is the host today. We have a special guest in the studio with Leaders Mortgages, and we're going to talk about money.
We are.
Yeah. I'll let you introduce the guest this morning.
Do we need to turn our guest on?
We will, yes, right now. Fire away.
There's a few things I've learned since I've been sitting here. Yes, we have with us this morning Mr. Chris Gray, and Chris is with Leaders Mortgage Services, who has been here before and is one of our sponsors of our show, as well as our platinum sponsor for CWTAR going into the 2020 year and 2019 as well, too. So I always thank you guys for that. And but
thanks
Chris
for having me.
Yes, sir, always. Chris has been doing this a long time. How long you been in the business, Chris?
18 years.
18 years. Yep. He's almost up to my numbers where I've been in real estate, but he's only a couple years behind me. But yeah, he's been doing this a long time, and we always enjoy having Chris on the show because he always brings a lot of knowledge, and sometimes he brings one of his lenders with him, but he decided to solo it today, come by himself. Didn't want to be upstaged by the lenders,
right.
Working without a net today.
I know he is. Safety net. That's right. So, Chris, you got. We were talking the other day. I ran into Chris somewhere. I think we had a meeting at the office.
We did,
and we were talking, and there was a few things that Chris asked that felt like that the listeners would like to hear. So, a lot of it had to do with the market and our market and what's going on. So, what kind of news you got for us, Chris?
Well, a lot of what we're hearing is, and what we're seeing is that interest rates have dropped again. They're in the 3s.
Wow.
The inventory is low, and so what that means is houses are moving very, very quickly. Average days on market last year for 2019 was down to 49 days. Man. And so to put that in perspective, the year before was a fast market, and it was at 57.
Right, so right at 3 months versus now you're down to less than 2 months.
Moving quickly, moving quickly.
Okay.
And so, you got people want to put it into either a seller's market or a buyer's market. We've got a healthy market with interest rates being low and with loan products being out there with low down payment, no down payment. This time of year is especially interesting with tax refund season. There's some grant money that just got renewed, and so there's opportunities to get into the housing market if you haven't done so yet. And with interest rates where they are, it's a really good time to look at it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, those are always good numbers. We always like to see that, and we talk about that, it's kind of odd. In our location, we've never been in a, as you said, a seller's market. I mean, just in our area. So it's a little different for us, whereas a lot of places across the country, they like live in a seller's market like all the time. Yeah. And we used to hear about it. We just didn't see it very often. Right. So now then we've been seeing it now for the last, how many years? Probably 3 or 4.
It's been about 3, and appreciation was up again last year. Average in Madison County, average price in 2019 was 168,000. Last year we jumped up to 178,000.
Wow.
I mean, statistically, that's a pretty big jump.
That is a huge jump
for a year, and
so some pricing trends there that are kind of moving us forward.
That's right.
I'm one of those. I'm the guy in the office that looks at everything from a how's this going to affect in the future or whatever. So I always look at things like that. So some nationally, you had a few stats nationally too as well.
Yeah, so one of them that I thought was interesting is that the South, we're over 65% home ownership at this point. And so we're only trailing the Mid-South, or the Midwest. We're trailing the Midwest by about 3%. A lot of that is affordability.
I was just asking, I was like, what do you credit that to?
So the South minus Nashville. Right?
yeah, keep that one out of it, right?
So, I credit affordability. I mean, the pricing is continuing to trend upward, which is fantastic, but you haven't missed the boat. It's still a great time to get into this market.
Right. All right. So let's see. Let's talk a little bit about home ownership as well too. So tell us an interesting stat you had about home ownership as far as Americans are concerned.
Well, yeah, it wasn't my stat. It's actually from National Association of Realtors.
Oh, I know those guys.
Yeah. They like to put out stats. They put out some good ones. And so if you ask an average American what the American dream consists of, well over 70% will say home ownership. And so we're at 65% home ownership in the South, and that's climbing. We're in the entire country is not that way. The Northeast is falling. Some parts of the West, as you can imagine, are falling just because of affordability.
Right.
And so you see this. A lot of people are coming here, right?
Yep.
But I thought that was interesting that there's still a huge portion of Americans that tie the American dream to home ownership, and so I think that would be true of most folks you would poll.
Do you have a percentage for that, like the number of Americans that can still consider
It's well
that?
over 70%.
Over 70% still consider home ownership as a part of their American dream.
I want to say that it's in the millennials, it was a little over 75%.
Okay.
And then on the average of all Americans, it was about 73%.
Well, that's good to know, because that is always, that's what we used to always talk about in real estate, is that is the American dream, to own your own home. And it's always nice to know that part of the American dream is still out there and that people still look at it that way. So that's interesting stats you got there, which reminds me as I'm standing here staring at the back of this. So if you're watching this on Facebook Live, you can see sitting on the edge of the counter here is this really nice cooler from Leaders Mortgage Services. And I don't know how much it'll hold, but it'll hold more than a 6-pack for those that carry.
It'll get you through lunch, won't it?
It'll get you through lunch, yeah, at least. But so the good news is we're going to be giving that away. And so at the end of the show today, we'll tell you what your question is for the end of the show. And all you got to do is go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/CWTAR. And if you first person answers the question correctly, we'll give you the question at the end of the day. We'll win this cooler we got. So you just come pick it up at our office, and we'll get it for you. So we hope to do a couple of these over the next few weeks or so. What you got, Jimmy?
We got a question in from a texter this morning.
Awesome.
And I'll throw it open to both of you. What is the average cost of a turnkey price to build a house, and what all is included in that price? And if you can't answer, please get someone who can help. Thanks.
Wow.
Take that one.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, that's a little bit of a loaded question. I can't actually give you a price. I'd just say give me a holler at the office at our phone number there, 731-668-4907. And we kind of talk about maybe what your needs are or what it is you're looking for. That'd be about the best way I can answer that question. But you can get a turnkey house, but it all depends. Custom homes versus tract built homes versus everything else that they got out there.
Yeah, so. There's so many factors that go into it, and over my 36 years in dealing with that, I would still get phone calls every now and then. I've got a 2,000 square foot house. What's it worth?
Yeah, right. And
well, I'm gonna need a little more information.
A lot of factors.
So we got another. All right, it says square. What is it?
Square foot price.
Square foot price.
Square foot price is on the high side right about now, just because of the average price that we're selling houses for has jumped up to 178 in the Madison County area.
Right.
Those were Madison County stats, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So I'm going to say right now they're upwards of at least $90 or more,
Yep.
and I want to say that new home construction is up in the 135s, 140s. It's on up there.
Again, depending on what all you put in it.
Exactly.
Now that number would not include the lot or any outside stuff. That's strictly
And those are
construction
just
costs.
some of the
Yeah.
things you have to take into consideration when you're talking about building a new home.
Oh,
Matter of fact,
absolutely.
your most perfect new home buyer is somebody that has an unlimited pocketbook, because as things change, that's just what they tell you. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, because especially if you're building a custom, because as you change stuff along the way, you know, it's adding price onto the house. You like to try to cover all that stuff on the front. Funny story, I've only had one custom house built in my entire life. And I wrote it myself. I was a real estate agent when we did it, right? And we were the very first people that lived in Wrights Mill subdivision. And so I talked to my builder, and I had everything down. So at that time, a normal purchase and sales agreement was 6 pages long.
Mhm.
Okay, now then they're up to 9 or 10 pages, I think, because I don't use them anymore.
Yeah, right.
But I think they're up to 9 or 10. My contract that I had with my builder when I had my house built was like 18 pages, I think, total, because I had all the stuff in there. I wanted to cover it all on the front side. So, and that came out to be in my favor. I can go ahead and tell you right now. So anyways, all right, moving on. So let's get back in. So yes, whoever the texter was on that one, if you'll just call me at the board office there, 731-668-4907. I'll try to help you out with that question as best I can. All right, so back to Chris Gray with Leaders Mortgage Services, and we were talking about some of the trends here in Madison County as well as nationally with home ownership and prices trending upwards, and the inventory is still kind of on the low side for right now. So in your opinion, you know, what do you think about buying right now? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
I think it's a great time. And I'm not saying that just because I'm in the business. I mean, just looking at interest rates, I mean, even where we were at the beginning of last year, we're about 0.5% or more, depending on credit and product, lower than where we were last year. And last year's real estate was booming.
It was.
So we're expecting the same this year. And so if you're thinking about buying for the first time, or you're thinking about moving up, I think it's a smart time, just because you're going to be able to secure cheap financing. I mean, we're talking about historic lows right now, so it's a good time to look.
There's another good factor here too. We got something that comes up in April of every year, pretty much, that you have to do. All Americans have to do in April.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mow the grass.
That's it. Yeah, mow the grass. I would prefer just to do that, but I'm thinking about something a little larger. Jimmy.
Yeah,
something that the federal government might knock on your door about if you
Yes,
don't
sir.
take care of.
So we're talking about filing taxes.
There you go.
There you
That's
go.
the one.
And so
Chris wins this one. Sorry, Jimmy, you're out.
Oh well.
a lot of folks, file sooner, especially if you're expecting a refund. And so one of the things that we're really pushing at Leaders, and I think it's a really good thing that we're doing for our over 50,000 members. And if you're not a member, come by. It's if you're hearing me, you can be a member, right?
That's right.
So if you're
Yes.
within the sound of my voice. So we're doing a free financial wellness checkup. Okay.
Oh, nice.
And so what's interesting about that? We'll actually pull a soft pull report, which means there's no adverse action and whatsoever on your credit score. We're not going to ding your credit score at all, but we will sit with you and walk through your entire credit report and help you understand where you are with your credit. If the credit's not exactly where you would like for it to be, we can look at it and see if we could raise that credit score. And then we've got a ton of products, right? And so if you don't have any credit and you want to build it, we've got starter credit cards. If you've got credit card debt and it's probably too high, we've got debt consolidation loans. We've got a 0% interest balance transfer credit card that goes for 15 months. A lot of folks are taking advantage of that. And so we're talking real estate, but if you're just curious about what you could afford and what you could be doing to move towards homeownership, you don't need an appointment. Just come by a branch and meet with one of our champions, and we're happy to sit with you and walk you through it. And we've had a lot of success with that. A lot of folks are taking us up on that, and it feels good to go through and give people a plan, and it works, right?
It does work. I can actually honestly say that I have done that 2 times with Leaders in the past. You may not have called it that back then, but we've been members on and off throughout the years, and we've sat down 2 times I know of, my wife and I have, really just to sit down and kind of reevaluate what we've got, what's out there. The interesting stuff is finding stuff that you've forgotten about that's still sitting around out there.
Right.
That doesn't have any balances or anything on it, but you're looking at it and you're going, what is that?
Right.
And then my name, I get confused, or my credit report pulls sometimes along. It'll grab something from my brothers, or it'll grab something of my sons or my dad's and pull it on. So it's also a good time to try to clear some of that stuff up as well too. But the main thing is to try to get you on some sort of plan and some sort of track for moving forward.
Yeah, it's complex. I mean, if you don't know where to start, it can seem overwhelming, and a lot of people just don't start. And I mean, that's what we're paid to do. I mean,
that's right.
We're pros at it. Our guys in branch are incredible at understanding how credit works, how our products work, and how we can help folks. I mean, it's you come by and spend a little bit of time, it's worth your time. I'm certain of it.
Awesome. Yeah, I would agree with you on that one.
There are a lot of companies out there now that are marketing on TV and Facebook and other places that will fix your credit for you, or they'll allow you to fix your credit for yourself simply by pushing a button on your cell phone.
Right.
If you have low numbers on your credit report, it's not quite that easy, is it?
It's not. A lot of people are experiencing pushing a different credit model where you can go in, and essentially what they're doing is you can add in some non-traditional credit trade lines.
Right.
And so think rent, right? So your landlord does not report rent, and you can go into Experian and request that your good rental history is attached to your credit report.
Right.
And so they're looking and trying to do some different types of models to help folks that don't have a lot of credit get credit for things, bills that they're paying. Now in the residential world, the residential mortgage credit report is a separate report from what the consumer report is.
Right.
And so there's always a little bit of confusion on that. But I would say that as far as the consumer report and what we would look at inside of a branch, there's multiple factors, and a lot of times there's folks that can, with one consultation, impact their credit scores significantly. As simple as a debt consolidation loan, as simple as making a payment on a credit card that's got a little bit too much utilization. And so there's a lot of buttons that you can push to start seeing the progress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, it's always good to work with somebody. And I used to tell my buyers this all the time. If I'm especially like either young single buyers or young married couple buyers, typically you're dealing with young people, but working with a lender that can help you if you're not quite right there yet. Maybe your credit score is not right where it needs to be. Maybe your debt to income ratio is off some. But being able to work with a lender that can help coach you up till you get to that point to where you can purchase a property, if that's exactly what you're trying to do and all you need. And a lot of times it doesn't take as long as you think it would. A lot of people are thinking, oh, it'll be like years before I'm able to buy a house. And it's not always that case. If you got somebody that knows what they're doing, it's not always canceling this credit card or doing this. A lot of times it's something simple, and most people can do it.
Well, and we do that for free. So, I mean, we would encourage you to reach out to us, and we can do it by phone. We can do it in person. You can apply for a loan online. But if you're just wanting some guidance and somebody to take the time to walk you through credit and how it works and what home ownership entails and how you can chart a path to success, we're happy to do that. I mean, a lot of times folks are thinking, well, my rent's $1,000 a month, and so if I want the house price that I want to buy, I know I'm going to be around there or a little bit more, and that's scary. Well, it might be scary, but if we look at it and the auto rate is from 2 years ago and it's too high, and we can save you some money there.
Yep.
You've got high balance credit cards, and we can use our debt consolidation loan, consolidate there. I mean, you can do a 15, 30-minute visit with us and maybe find $200 or $300 a month, and all of a sudden home ownership doesn't look so scary.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, there's so much to take into effect, and that's why we always say all the time, and I'm just going to let Mr. Jimmy talk about that here in a second, but we always say all the time, call Leaders Mortgage Services, talk to them first before you do anything else, and find out what you've got before you get out there and start trying to do anything.
664-1784.
There you go, right there.
That up.
That's his number. Yeah, teed that up perfectly. All right, Jimmy, we got some other sponsors as well as Leaders I guess we need to talk about.
Yes, we do. Leaders, of course, is first and foremost today, and we appreciate Chris being with us. Our other sponsors, other than Leaders Mortgage Services, Allstate Insurance, Angie Hooten Hughes is your local agent. She can take care of all of your insurance needs, from homeowners to life insurance to additional liability umbrellas, you name it, they can take care of it. And they suggest that you let them look at your current portfolio and make some suggestions, as Chris is talking about doing with your credit. They might find a way to save you some money by packaging all of your insurance needs in one place and getting the rate down a little bit and making it a little more easy for you to understand and a little easier to handle. 668-1990 is the local phone number. Allstate Insurance with Angie Hooten Hughes, the agent. And, of course, Bird & Bird Attorneys. They've been doing real estate law in this market since 1985. They do it all from residential closings to commercial, title searches, insurance, foreclosures, should it come to that, and we hope that it doesn't. The good thing about dealing with Bird & Bird is they have the experience. Charles Bird Sr. will carefully inspect all the aspects of the real estate transaction, including research and verification of property titles, covenants and restrictions for land use, as well as other zoning and deed restrictions. All the things you need to know to make sure that title is clear when the signature is put on the line. Bird & Bird, 424-7188. And a reminder, you can watch this today on Facebook Live on the CWTAR Facebook page. Just go there and click on Facebook Live, and bingo, you've got it. And we couldn't do it without the hand in the closet back there. Paul Schulze with Worthy Road Studios. There's the hand. The rest of him is back behind the curtain doing the job that he does so well. We appreciate it, Paul. Thank you so much. Now I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Appreciate that, Jimmy.
Yes, sir.
And so we have with us this morning, if you're just tuning in with us, Mr. Chris Gray. And Chris is with Leaders Mortgage Services right here in Jackson. And I've known Chris for a little while, and they do a great job over there. And he's got a big team of lenders that work all throughout the West Tennessee area, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And where is y'all's main office located?
So the mortgage office is 35 Stonebridge, and so the easiest way to say that is right over by Chick-fil-A, right?
Okay.
So don't see us between noon and 1 unless you've got a longer lunch break than us.
Yeah, I kind of know that area over there really well, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And my son works over there at FedEx, so I have to go visit every once in a while. I'm like, I'll come visit you anytime, but I'm not coming after 11, and I'm not coming before 1 o'clock.
Traffic gets a little busy there.
A tad bit, yes, it does.
Another texter in this morning with a question for you guys. Does a large down payment affect interest rate?
Chris, that sounds like a perfect question for you.
Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, it absolutely does. So you got a few factors that affect. So residence, as far as how you're buying the property, is it your primary residence? Is it a vacation home, or is it an investment? Those will affect interest rates. Down payment certainly affects interest rate. Term, so 30-year, 20-year, 15-year, or whatever it is that you're looking for there, affects the interest rate. And then the price, as far as the home price, right? And so loan amount finance can affect the interest rate a little bit as well.
Okay.
I'd say right now, though, because the interest rates have fallen so much, the difference between the no down payment and low down payment interest rates right now is about as small as we've seen. It's very compressed. And so if you're thinking about buying, even if you don't have 20% down, you should probably let us run the numbers.
Yeah, that's what we always say. It's just always better to start off there. So we've talked about we talked about some stats, how some things are going in the Madison County area, some national stats as we move forward. Even talked about the home ownership here in the South, and think about buying now, which you just talked about right there. And then we talked about your financial wellness checkup, which is, I can contest and say those things are actually pretty cool. Just if you just want to know, that's it. A lot of times you just curious. That's
right.
it. You know, maybe you want to go down a different track. Maybe you're planning for something in the future. It's a perfect time to come in and talk about that. So we're going to move past that part and go into the pre-qualification part, because that scares a lot of people because of a lot of the stuff we were talking about. Like, they don't want you to see their credit score, or, you know, they just assume they can't buy a house, so they just don't do it.
Right.
So what do you say about that?
Process is not scary. I mean, if you're working with a strong lender that understands the process, we guide you through it. It's pretty cookie cut at this point as far as what is needed to pre-qualify, to find out how much you can purchase, and we answer all the questions that you're concerned about up front before we ever turn you loose. We encourage you to come see us before you choose a realtor. We'd like to put you in the right price point for you, and then turn you over to a pro. And we certainly encourage using a realtor for the transaction. But as far as what can you afford, as far as payment, as far as interest rate, closing costs, down payment, what are you going to need out of pocket, if anything? Because it's possible you might not need anything out of pocket in order to buy a home. We answer all those questions, and then the documentation. I mean, it's income, assets. It's pretty straightforward and simple, and so I think that the history of, and especially mortgage crisis, right? The financial crisis. We won't put it just on mortgage, right?
Yeah.
It scared a lot of folks, and lenders tightened up. We have loosened up. The pendulum hadn't swung back to where it's wide open,
and that's good.
That's a good thing.
Yes,
That's right.
That is a good thing.
But there is affordable financing, and there's a lot more folks out there that are eligible and that could qualify and that could start that now than what they realize.
All right, so an important question that I know for people that are young and that live in apartments, and I know this comes up because I hear it all the time. So what does it cost to get pre-qualified? What's the cost on that?
There's no cost to
there
get
you
pre-qualified.
Go. Yeah, that's right.
And I'll throw out this too. You do not have to be a member to get pre-qualified. So if you want to check and get pre-qualified, we're not going to put you through membership first, which membership is super simple. You can do it online. You can do it at any branch. It's an easy process. But if you're just curious, you can call us. We can walk you through it. And you don't have to be a member in order to go through that process.
Yeah, I think that's really important because I think that is one thing that just automatically stops a lot of people, because if they're already, barely making their apartments. And somebody asked me the other day, something I was reading the other day, and it was talking about apartment pricing. There was a time when apartment pricing, it was a little cheaper to rent an apartment versus a mortgage, but right now that is not the case because apartment prices have skyrocketed.
That's the truth. And the inventory affects rental property too.
It
right?
does. Yes, it does.
And so we've seen rents rise as quicker than the prices of homes.
I say quicker.
Yeah, it's difficult to find single family residents to rent in Madison County. I mean, there are some out there, but there's not a ton of inventory, and so you're certainly in a point where cost of ownership can be cheaper than renting at this point, especially with the long-term trend of rents continuing to rise. Economy's good, unemployment's low. All those things factor into the housing inventory.
Right. Oh yeah, makes perfect sense. I think we got another text.
We do. Another text question. And we appreciate our
You
texters
are popular
You're
this
a popular
morning.
man this morning. Everybody's got their hand out. Want a little money in your pocket over there. Will lenders offer me a loan to build my own home or have a contractor build it? Construction loan.
Okay, so if I understand the question, yes, you can get a construction loan directly to you, the buyer, and you can build your own home. As far as if you're thinking you're a contractor and you want to build it yourself and finance, most lenders will not do that.
Yep.
Most lenders want you to use a general contractor, a GC, that is not yourself, so not a home, not building your own home. But I think the question was driven more towards if I wanted to meet with a couple of builders around town, and we've got some good ones, and we wanted to look at plans and look at a lot and build our house from scratch.
Right.
Can I get the financing myself and do that? And you absolutely can. In fact, if you want to take it in 2 steps, we can help you buy that lot. We typically want 30% down if the lot is undeveloped, 20% down if it's already developed and ready to build on. And so if you've got your eye on a piece of land and you're going to do this in 2 steps, meaning I wish I could go ahead and buy the lot because those prices are going up as well.
Yes, they are.
Go ahead and purchase the lot, and if you're looking to maybe build into summer or next spring, we can use the equity that you've built in your lot in that time period towards your construction loan.
Right.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you, Texter. We appreciate that.
Yeah,
Hope
we
that
do,
clears
and that
up.
brings up a good point about purchasing the lot because the prices just keep going up, and they're getting fewer and fewer to be able to find
That's true.
lots. Because I know there was a time just a couple of years ago where even our local builders were having trouble finding places to build new homes because we didn't have any new developments going on. They were working on them, they just weren't ready yet.
Yep.
So that's pretty important right there. Okay, so the last little piece here, you talked about choosing a realtor. How important that is, in your opinion, coming from the mortgage side? How important is that?
Extremely. I mean, having a professional represent you and walk you through the process, it's really most critical at the beginning of the process to make sure that you understand how the transaction's going to go. We can give you guidance and advice on how the financing will go. You need a realtor to walk you through how actually going into contract, all the different contingencies that you can put into a contract so that you're safe and sound when you're making your offer. Meaning, are you buying the house regardless of how the home inspection goes, regardless of where the appraisal is? Does it come in lower and you're still obligated because you did not put in a financing contingency? I mean, there's a bunch of pieces that it's not just here. I want to buy the house for $150,000. I'm going to sign my name. You can do it that simply. You may be opening up a can of worms.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. All right, well, with us this morning, we have Mr. Chris Gray, and he is with Leaders Mortgage Services. And as promised, we're going to be giving away this cooler. If you're watching us on Facebook Live right now, that's sitting right on the corner of the counter up here. It's got Leaders' name on it. It's really nice. I would use it myself, but I guess they'd frown upon that. So I decided I'd be nice, and I will go ahead and give it away. So there was something that Chris mentioned at the beginning of the show today, and so this is going to be my question. And if you know the answer to this, be the first one to send it over to facebook.com/CWTAR. And the question is, what % of Americans consider home ownership still a part of the American dream? So that was the question. What % of Americans consider home ownership still a part of the American dream? With that being said, Chris, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you guys?
You can go to our website, leaderscu.com, or you can call us at 664-1784. The online digital application is super easy. A lot of people prefer to start that way. But I mean, we're happy to take a phone call, and we're happy to have you drop in. I mean, so no appointment needed. Come by and see us. We're always there.
Okay, awesome. Jimmy, you got anything else for us this morning?
No, I appreciate Chris being here because
Yes.
we talk about it on a weekly basis that the mortgage component to buying a house is very, very important because there, and this may be a topic for another show, but there are so many varied types of mortgages
Exactly.
out there. You need to talk to a pro,
Yep.
some folks in your office, and find out which one best suits you. Because you could wind up paying, 0.5%, 0.75% more just because you didn't know this program was available.
That's true.
So yeah, it's a big important part of the deal.
I got a feeling I could probably get Chris back, but I think on that particular show he might bring somebody with him. I could be wrong about
That's
that,
right.
but that
He
particular
might.
one,
Yeah,
he might have a sidekick with him on that show.
That's true.
So all right, Jimmy, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Chris, thank it being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having
understand
me.
you. Oh, thank you, Chris. Understand you're going to be away from the show next week.
I will be trying to get smarter next Monday, as I'm going to be over in Nashville for a conference. They moved it from March to February.
Oh, okay.
And some bright person decided to schedule it on the Monday after the Super Bowl, which means I have to travel on Super Bowl Sunday to go to Nashville and spend the night. So, I don't know who put – no, I better not say what I'm getting ready to say. That might get me in trouble. So I'll just be quiet on that one. So anyways, yes, I will not be here Monday.
Just get somebody to sign in for you.
Yeah, I got somebody signing in. You guys have met him on the show a couple times in the past, but
Right.
but he'll be very entertaining. I can assure you that.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Well, we'll rein him in a little bit. Though.
Yeah, there you go. There
All
you
right.
go.
Looks good. We'll do this again next Monday morning about 10:15 or so. It's called The Voice for Real Estate, a presentation of CWTAR, the Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors, and sponsored by Leaders Mortgage Services, Allstate Insurance, Angie Hooten Hughes, your agent, and Bird & Bird Attorneys. It is 10:45. The mid-morning mix continues with John Schofield.
I'm John Schofield.